Okay, so we're talking gutters today. If you have frame tents and you want to put them together to make larger frame tents or transitions between, say, like a 30 by 30, then a 10 by 10 to a 20 by 40, like a little hallway, you need gutters between them. The gutters are just vinyl with hooks on either side, so you can connect the inside perimeter rope of each frame tent together. Now, gutters work really well on traditional West Coast style frame tents where it's just straight. The valence, the side of the tent is just straight. You can hook gutters up to that really easy. There's two types of gutters. There's a bow tie gutter, and then just one that starts kind of short down and the ending part is longer, so all the water just drains that way. The bow tie one is short in the middle and longer on the ends, so it drains in both directions. Now that would be used for like longer or wider tents. Say you got like a 40 by 100 frame tent going one direction, and perpendicular to it you got another 40 by 60, kind of making like a T shape. You want a gutter between those. So a bow tie gutter would drain water to both sides. It would be an appropriate length drop that it's not going to be in people's ways. If you just had a straight gutter where it was short on one side and went all the way down 40 feet away, the drop would be really, really long in order to allow water to travel. So on bigger, larger frame tents, connecting them together, a bow tie gutter is better. But on smaller tents, you can do the straight gutter where it just starts short and goes and ends a little bit longer. This does not work on high peak frame tents because of the material at the corners and in the middle where the pole is. So I drew some pictures to try to demonstrate that. Please excuse my drawing and my cat. So because of the arch on the vinyl, you cannot use a straight gutter which only drains down to one side. The one side where it drains is longer, so you may be able to attach it to both tents. But over here, because of this vinyl coming down, you will not be able to attach it because this side is the short side. So they have what is called a bow tie one. It's long on both sides and drains water to both sides. That is what you need with a high peak tent. Or if your tent is 40 wide, you don't want a really long side on one where the water drains and a really short side on the other. A bow tie one would work better to send it in both directions. You also don't want a cat on your tent, but a bow tie one would work better to send it in both directions and it wouldn't be as long. Now, if you have a 20 by 30 or 20 by 40 frame tent, the high peak style, you cannot use a gutter system on this to put two of them together because you would need to use the bow tie gutters, and it would just drain all down here. You cannot do it. What you need if you're going to put these kind of tents together is what's called a double valence. Now what a double valence is just a rope added to the outside of the tent with some more vinyl over it. So you can't see the rope. All it is a small strip of vinyl that hides that rope. You can't even tell. And then your rope is outside the tent, so then you can connect two of these kind of tents together, because then you can use a bow tie one and it's not getting in the way of this material. It's on the outside of it, so then you can connect two 20 by 30 or two 20 by 40 high peak frame tents together. Get out of the picture. So I hope that explains it a little bit. I do have a hard time explaining more complicated things to people, especially if they didn't have any experience with tents. But gutters are just basically a piece of vinyl that goes between two frame tents so you can connect them together so rain doesn't go down. Depending on what style frame tent you have, there's an appropriate gutter for each. And especially if you're using high peak frame tents, the double valence, you definitely need to get that. It's probably a few $100s more to get it on the tent. But if you're gonna be putting tents together, you need that double valence with the rope on the outside so that you can connect those together. If you try to connect two of them together without double valences, you're just gonna have water that drains in the center, and that's not good. The double valence is also really good for putting sidewalls on high peak frame tents and larger frame tents, because usually ratchets get in the way. You have to put the sidewall between the ratchet and the leg, so that means you can't put the ratchet on until after you get the sidewalls. But with a double valence, you get to put your ratchets on, and then the sidewall hooks to that outside one. It makes putting up sides on frame tents a whole lot easier. If you have any follow-up questions about gutters, just leave them in the comments. I will try to answer them. Like I said, I have a harder time explaining more complicated, like the more expert level things in this than I do explaining the easier stuff. Anyways, thanks for watching.